Did the artist statement and media descriptions help with understanding each piece?
Yes, very much so. And I found that some people didn't really write much at all of anything. Other people did, and I that's why I read everything really carefully, because it helped, to kind of get an idea about what concept might be, and certainly about media and process. Helped me to understand.
As a whole, did the artist's work express a sense of hope or despair about the world?
That's an excellent question. I would say half and half. I mean, there were some dark images that I looked at, but the fact that they were trying to work out their feelings and sensibilities in an art form brought them more into the realm of optimism than in terms of darkness and difficulty. Almost like not a nightmare, but turning a nightmare into a dream world, if you will.
You mentioned that the pieces that drew you in and engaged you the longest were the ones you chose for the exhibition. Can you say more about that experience of a piece engaging you?
Yes. I think that many times these days, and maybe in the past too, people have a tendency to sometimes scan visual things and go really quickly through the process of looking, rather than slowing down and looking more carefully. The thing about great art is that it really does pull you in to look carefully at what's there, not just the image itself or the composition, but the mark making, the paint that's laid down, the way things are woven together. It slows you down and takes you into a different kind of world and place, rather than just what you think should be there. It's, people call it right brain thinking versus left brain thinking. And I know, even though I'm a right brain thinker, I'm a visual person. Sometimes when I'm really super busy and I come into the studio to work, it takes me a while to adjust to slowing down and looking and becoming a part of that world. But as soon as I do that, I don't worry about other stuff. I lose track of time. I'm just involved in the process of making.
What else would you like to say about this show?
Seeing it all together and in person is a whole different experience than just seeing digital images. You get a clue and a sense of what that's about. But seeing the work together, some pieces are smaller than I thought, some are a little bit larger, even though I saw the dimensions. And seeing them together and how they interact is really rich. It really and truly is. I do see, that this beautiful love of color in a lot of the works, and some are set off by ones that are more gray tones or subdued colors, and those things play off each other so that they work together almost like not a family necessarily, because it's all different visions and people, but the individuality of artistic expression.
For those artists whose work was not selected, what can they learn from this experience?
Keep making work. Keep making work and experiment even more, and do multiple or related pieces so you can kind of see which area works the best and how they work together as a body of work. Go ahead and choose artists that you love to look at, and look at them in greater detail and more depth, and see what it is about their work that you respond to and that you connect to.
Virginia Derryberry,
Yes.
our juror, would you please introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a little bit about you and your background and your practice?
Okay. I have been an artist since I was in the 4th grade. I was dedicated to making art and have been my whole life. And one of the things I tell people who ask me about that is that during the 4th grade I was ill for a year and out of school. And that's when I started making art as a way to kind of make the world work for me and to be optimistic about the future. And from then on, I would occasionally take classes, but mostly I just did what I felt like doing, which is great. I decided to major in art history rather than studio art, however, when I was in college at Vanderbilt, because I wasn't sure how I'd make a living as an artist. That's the way it always is. When I graduated, though, I started missing the making process full time. So I decided to go on to graduate school and got my MFA from University of Tennessee, Knoxville, and from then to being a university professor. I've taught several different universities across the country. My work has evolved over time. I'm primarily a painter. I've always liked to work large scale. People always ask me when they meet me, "You're so small, why do you make big paintings?" What's that about? And my answer is, well, first of all, it's probably partly the Napoleonic complex. You know, I'm a little person, but in reality, it's that when I'm in the middle of painting something, I'm trying to create a world that I feel as if I could walk into and be a part of as I'm doing it. And that my viewers feel the same way, that they feel lured into that space, even though it's not a real space. My work has evolved over time from being mostly landscape-based to being about figures and figure narrative paintings since the early 2000s. And since I was an art history major, a lot of those stories come from mythology and Renaissance art and alchemy. And I take those stories and reinterpret them in contemporary terms. So again, you don't necessarily have to know what the myth is to understand the painting, but you can see all kinds of connections maybe to your own life.